Convert your equation x squared plus y squared plus 8x minus 6y minus 75 from general form into standard form by showing your steps. So oftentimes one of the most challenging things for students to do when it comes to working with equations of circles is to change from general form, which is this form right here, into standard form or center radius form, which looks like x minus h squared plus y minus k quantity squared equals r squared. Because what we have to do is complete the square in both the x and y variables. And completing the square is generally a process that students have trouble with. However, it's very straightforward. When completing the square, we really only have to focus on the constant values that are, or I should say the coefficients of the linear variables. So what we do when completing the square, when we have two variables, the first thing is to separate everything with x's and everything with y's. And if you'll notice, the problem has already gone ahead and done that. We've also moved the constant to the other side of the equation. That's already taken care of as well. What we have to determine is what value is going to complete the square in x. So what do I need to do to 8 to figure out what makes this group a perfect square trinomial? And a perfect square trinomial is going to look something like x plus a quantity squared. Okay? Now, that particular term comes from taking the constant value 8, dividing it by 2, and squaring it. So that's the value that makes a perfect square trinomial. And that's what always will make that a perfect square trinomial. So it's just a nice little formula to remember. It's just this value divided by 2 squared. So 8 divided by 2 is 4. 4 squared is 16. So we place a 16 in here, but we can't add 16 to the left-hand side of the equation without doing the same to the right-hand side of the equation. Going to the next group, I now have a constant value multiplying the linear term of -6. So I do the same thing. To complete the square, I take that value divided by 2 and then square it. So -6 over 2 would be -3. When I square that, it's a +9. And then I do the same thing here. I add the 9 in. And it's okay to just write 16 plus 9 in this blank. If you want to go ahead and combine them to 25, that's fine as well. But the next step, what's really cool about this is you've made this a perfect square trinomial. So no matter what this form is, it will automatically factor. So if I have, for instance, x squared plus, I'll say, bx plus, and then this term we know is b squared over 4. All right, that's the same thing as taking that value b, squaring it, dividing it by 2 and then squaring it. So it becomes b squared over 4. The thing is, this always factors into x plus whatever b is divided by 2 quantity squared. That's always how it's going to work. So you really don't have to do any effort in factoring here. You just have to take this number now and divide it by 2. So this trinomial just factors into x plus half of this number. So 8 divided by 2 is 4. -6 divided by 2 is -3. 16 and 9 give us 25, but we also have the 75 here originally, so the total there is 100. The last step is to write the equation just in a simplified form. So instead of writing plus a negative, we need to express that a little bit nicer and say that we have x plus 4 quantity squared plus y minus 3 quantity squared equals 100.